the one kind of sobering fact. So a good chunk of the time they held us in this government building, and the embassy and everybody was saying, we're trying to keep you out of the local jail, like, because you guys are fucked. And like, it's all rapists and murderers in the jail. Like, it's the rape capital of the world. And they would get us up and a few times in the middle of the night at like machine gun point and shove us in this van to take us to the jail. Our embassy rep ended up coming at the last second, and stopping them. But when I got back, crazy, it was weird timing. It was like 2 weeks after I got back. The city we were in was called Goma, and that's where the jail was. And the New York Times came out with an article, and the headline was Goma, comma, worst prison in all of Africa.
Oh my, holy shit, man.
It was no joke, dude. It was no fucking joke. It was no fun. I got PTSD.
How did y'all finally get, like, who are they? Are they ransoming? Are they like calling in-laws and saying, hey, we need $100 million?
No, they wanted money at first, and then I think we just they said we just made somebody mad. We didn't know who or how, but like they said normally Americans on kind of bullshit charges, it's like a day and then you're out. But they said somebody kept like calling and canceling. Like we almost got out a couple of times. Somebody come on the radio last minute. And then, yeah, eventually we ended up getting extradited, like under armed guard. Like they sat behind us with guns on a commercial flight. And yeah, it was something. It was something.
I'm glad you made it out, brother.
Me too. Me too. Nothing like a bunch of drunk guards waking you up in the middle of the night with fucking assault rifles.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I'll say this and then I got to run. But so I always thought it was interesting. We eventually, before they let us out, they flew us to Kinshasa, which is the capital. And our embassy rep she got us out. I'll owe her my life, but she was a freaking basket case. And we get to Kinshasa, and the embassy rep, like, you can tell, has his shit together. And he grabbed us and he was like, I need y'all to know something. He's like, I want y'all to know that the only reason you are not in that jail right now is because you are an American. If you were German or French or Canadian or Italian or Chinese or any other country, you would not be out right now. And they actually, and this is confirmed, and I know it's not, well, this whole fucking thing sounds made up, so whatever. But Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State at the time, and we had like an intern that was working in her office, and it came to her desk. And she finally, that the guy told she was finally like, get them the fuck out. Because it kept getting put back. And so finally it made it all the way up to her. And she was like, I'm not dealing with this bullshit. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's refreshing to hear about something positive in the Clintons' legacy.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah. It was. It was very positive. Very positive.
Following you for a little bit on LinkedIn. I'm glad we were able to connect in person last week. It was nice to, actually put flesh and blood to the online profile. And yeah, I'm very interested in your story, uh, where you are these days, the new kind of endeavor with Vehicle Reman. and I anticipate we're going to jump all up and down inside that thing too. So, but first, uh, I want to know about the legacy. You gave me a couple of talking points, one of which I was not aware of, that you were involved in the early days of Christian Brothers Automotive. Is that right?
Yeah, 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 yeah. We didn't talk about that?
Well, I mean, a little bit, but I didn't know how in depth you were actually involved in the organization. You mentioned that you helped train one of my connections, a guy named Kevin, super good dude. And you had asked, hey, how do you know Kevin? And I mentioned, well, we take our vehicles to Christian Brothers, and Kevin was just a very cool human being that I was able to connect with, and he was, I guess, owner of this one store that we go to. And you mentioned that you trained him and stuff. So, what was your actual involvement in CBA?
So Christian Brothers is actually my family's company.
Yeah. Okay.
So my dad started it about 2 months before I was born. And his dad ran it for a while, and it was just the one shop, and it didn't really do all that great for its first, several years. And then my dad basically felt like God was calling him to franchise. And so he kind of started doing that. And yeah, just year after year, we didn't really have a growth plan or anything. And so, yeah, now we're at about, I think, 270 stores or so. My brother's running the company. He's doing a great job. And yeah, I kind of saw a need in the fleet market and decided to come over here and try being an entrepreneur.
Wow. So what's Christian Brothers range right now? We're here in Texas, so obviously they're saturated here, but how far?
Yeah, I think we're probably in about 35 states. And we kind of are concentrated in Texas, and then we kind of fan out a little bit as you just get a little bit further. But yeah, we've grown. It's been really neat to watch it. It did not look like this when I was a kid.
Well, I love the pivot, and let's come on. I love the irony too. Your last name's Carr, for crying
Yes.
out loud. I mean, how much more appropriate could it be? But to understand growing up in that entrepreneurial lifestyle, um, and one thing in particular I'm interested in as I look to acquire existing businesses myself is there's this dynamic that's happening currently, where you have the baby boomer generation. Um, and actually, did you know that 35% of all small businesses are owned by baby boomers? That's, kind of
Did
trivia
not.
one. But the dynamic is that we're at that point in time where the baby boomers are starting to retire, or they've been trying to retire. And of the 35% of small businesses that are owned by baby boomers, 30% of those actually just shut their doors because that family legacy um, of the company going to the children, either through inheritance or the children just having the kind of the want to take over the business. Maybe that's not there, or because of the economy, perhaps they can't just sell the business, or because the business is just kind of running on razor thin margins. And regardless of the economy, you've got a very tightened SBA program out there, and the lenders have tightened up, and so it's really tough for these retirees to get out of their business, and so you see 30% of them just kind of dry up.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So, um, I'm interested. You've had this kind of journey, and I definitely want to talk about the Congo. Uh, but I'm just curious your thoughts on having grown up in that entrepreneurial family. Do you think that attitude, that spirit of chasing that American dream, rubbed off on you in this kind of tangible way as to how you got here?
Yeah, I mean, I think it added fuel to the fire, for sure. yeah, I don't know if it's so much as the American dream as much as I just don't know where else I fit than being an entrepreneur. I just don't know what it looks like. And so, yeah, it's just, I mean, it's kind of out of just necessity, right? It's like, all right, well, I got to have a job. And, like, I'm, I'm a little stubborn, and I like to figure out how to do things on my own. And so, sometimes you just got to do your own thing if you want to get away with it.
Well, you're in a good space, brother. I've been in the corporate world for, well over a decade. And just recently, this past year, even though I've had this enthusiasm to be a business owner and kind of do my own thing, it's only been really prompted this past year, and circumstances kind of led to this opportunity where I have some suddenly acquired downtime, and I have a little window of opportunity where I can focus my efforts to go make money for myself and make money for other people, as a business owner, helping those other business owners make money for themselves instead of just clocking into that 9 to 5 grind and making millions of dollars for someone else who eventually just kind of forgets about you or shits you out in one way or another, because corporate loyalty is an extinct thing. It's like the dinosaurs. But this entrepreneurial path is something that's I can't shake now. And now that I've taken that step over the precipice, and I'm kind of in that dangerous free for all of, oh shit, where's this headed? There's no turning back.
Yeah,
And
you're gonna be in the oh shit for a while, man.
yeah, oh yeah, I know, I feel it. Kind of like we talked about the other day. It's like you're in that shopping cart, on
Yeah,
the
that was a good one.
bumpy downhill. Someone's shoved you down the hill, and you're like, Are we going to be okay? Yeah, I think we're going to be okay. I don't know. Doesn't feel good, but you're headed in a direction. That's the point. And it's all about propelling forward. And I follow Gary V. I don't know if you're familiar, but Gary V has this philosophy um, on entrepreneurship where a lot of people get stuck in this analysis by paralysis, and they're very scared to make the wrong decisions. And he constantly tells people, just stop that. Just move forward. If it's a bad decision, don't get hung up on it. Fling it out the window, pivot, go 5 degrees this direction and try something else. And I know you feel that pain. I think every business owner out there has felt that pain.
Yep, for sure.
And maybe 5 degrees is a little shy of the pivots that you have to take sometimes.
Yeah, there's some painful pivots, but you learn.
Democratic Republic of the Congo. Now, I'm just going to say any country that starts with Democratic and Republic throws up some flags. It might as well be called totally not a dictatorship nation of, inner name here, followed by fucked up justification.
Yep.
How did you get to the Congo?
Man, it's kind of interesting. I worked for a nonprofit that did work for war-affected kids in Congo, and kind of interesting what line of work I ended up in with kind of this experience. But I went with that nonprofit to try and set some like kind of on the ground funding mechanisms up. Do you know anything about Congo?
Only what the nightly news might say every once in a
They
while.
don't say nothing.
Usually
Yeah, it's
bloodbath related.
it's the worst place on the planet. Like statistically, objectively, it's the worst place on the planet. And what they do there is that is where they mine a lot of the minerals for the batteries that go in electric cars. Okay. And when I was there, we were going with cameras to the mines to just get footage of it. And, I was being dumb and brave and stupid and all the kind of stuff, right? And so we ended up getting arrested as we were trying to go out into the jungle to go to these mines. And they held us for like 5 days. And so in that, like, it's just funny that, I'm doing Reman, and I believe just coincidentally, whatever, Reman is the alternative to electric. It's just a better version in every way. It's way greener even. So, yeah, just kind of that was definitely an experience. And it definitely made me like oddly passionate about the fight against electric vehicles. So yeah.
Was any of that footage ever aired, or did they confiscate all of that?
We never got there. We've got some pictures and stuff. I actually brought one in. So we bribed our way on a cargo plane to get there. And then on the way back, they flew us under, those are all bags of coltan, like this super heavy mineral. And yeah. Yeah.
So you never even made it into the mines or anything. They picked up on your story ahead of time.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird over there. Like, it's all rebels, and like, they said we were spies or going to assassinate the president, and like just all this kind of crazy stuff. They just wanted money. But yeah, it was an intense few days.
You've got a value proposition with vehicle remanufacturing. And so can you tell me a little bit about Vehicle Reman, the company, but then the value proposition that you mentioned? It's a little bit greener
Yeah.
for some people's appetites.
Yeah. So let me think here. Yeah. So Vehicle Reman, what we do is we remanufacture trucks, predominantly fleet trucks. So when vehicle gets near end of life or at end of life, becoming kind of a problem child, what we'll do is we'll say, hey, we'll take that truck from you. We will remanufacture it close to new, and then we will give it back to you to put in your fleet. And within that process, we save customers anywhere between $20,000 to $100,000. $20,000 is about our minimum cost savings for eligible vehicles. And then, so it's cheaper, it is greener. All of the raw materials that you're not having to use, I mean, there's, you're recycling a car to a large extent. And then we're quicker, right? Like a lot of these trucks and vehicles are ordered and they're way out, and we can flip them in 2 weeks. So yeah, I mean, just from a reusing, materials aspect, right? Like we don't have to go find a bunch of new stuff in order to build these things. And so not is it just more sustainable, like kind of for the earth in the long run, right? Like for our planet, but also just for us and being able to acquire new materials and these things, right? Like it's a better thing for us as well. So yeah, that's kind of the quick on us.
What vehicles does it make sense to do this on?
Yeah, great question. So it makes the most sense for vehicles that are heavily equipped. So a great example of that would be like a smaller transport bus, maybe a 35 passenger bus. We actually saved the University of Texas $100,000 on that bus. It's not hard for us to save near the six figures for people that have those kinds of things, just because you've got the seats, you've got the body, you've got this big long cab that everybody's in, right? So clearly, we can refurb that stuff, to replace the whole thing. So, and then kind of on the lower end, anything below a 2,500 is probably not a great candidate. Starting at like kind of F-250s, Chevy 2500s, Ford Transits, Chevy Express vans, Dodge ProMasters, F-250s, F-350s, F-450s, things like that. So we fix a lot of stuff. No Nissans, Mercedes, Isuzus. They just kind of price themselves out. It's not a very good value to our customer.
And I would imagine that some of your vehicles that have the customized beds on them, so you've got, I don't know what you call all of that equipment, but like a bucket truck for,
Mhm.
linemen, I would imagine that's quite the savings as well, because you're going in and essentially changing out what the powertrain, you're refurbing the interior, you're doing what's kind of the approach there?
Yeah, so we basically go in and do like all mechanical kind of core components, and then supportive components. So really anything that's going to break, that's cost effective, right? So for example, catalytic converters, they can be $2,500 a pop. And if they're good when they come in, like we're not going to replace those because they're easy to get to. There's no reason for it. So we really just try and focus on, hey, let's if these were our dollars, what would we want to do? Right? Everything to some extent is like a risk to reward ratio. You can spend a ton of money and replace every single stinking truck or part on that truck. Or you can say, hey, we got about 40 parts here that have a 3% failure rate. Why don't we go ahead and not do that right now? So yeah, we can kind of be all over the place.
Now, the company itself started several years ago, I believe, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So
What was the launch factor there?
originally, and this was, over 10 years ago, I think, Vehicle Reman got a government contract for 4,000 military vehicles. And so we did that. It was kind of a goofy thing, though. The gentleman that was in charge of the facility, the ops, passed away. And then the guy that came up behind him ended up being a crook and just kind of sank the whole thing after the project was done. And so now I'm kind of trying to revive it a few years later.
Yeah, quite the turnaround, I imagine.
Hmm.
Yeah, but it looks like you're picking up steam.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
happy to hear about a couple of contract awards that you got just the other day when I'm sitting there in your office and your phone starts dinging, and it was pretty neat to watch the contract
Yeah.
that shouldn't happen on your face. It was awesome, and it's because of this turnaround. You've done a good job of coming in, leaning out the organization to cut away the waste, and now you're really focused on the efficiency and the growth to get it booted back up. And man, I love it. I love to watch this journey. So how are you feeling these days with where things are headed?
Man, I feel good. I feel good. The more that I talk to customers, like when I get in front of people and it's somebody that could actually use our services, just the more great feedback that I hear and kind of excitement on the other end of the phone. And so yeah, I'm excited to be getting more involved myself, to be doing more just kind of selling and workflow. And when you're in there and you're seeing everything every day, it allows you to be creative because you're seeing problems and you're seeing what could be better. And so it's just kind of fun going in and figuring stuff out. And as I'm figuring stuff out, it's I lost my place.
Understandably, that that kind of happens.
Yeah.
I imagine it can get a little overwhelming when you're getting down into the weeds and trying to figure things out. That's I've been involved in that for several years now, and so I understand the complexity and the ambiguity. Sometimes you just have a loss of words for what's kind of happening around you.
Yeah, I'll look back fondly though of the days when I was locked in a small windowless room making sales calls all day trying to survive. I'll look back and be thankful.
Yeah, yeah, you will. You've got a hell of a team as a backbone of support there.
Hmm.
Uh, uh, can you talk to me about them and their legacy with the company?
Yeah, yeah. So Arnold, I've known Arnold for about 10 years. No, shoot, we're going closer to 20, somewhere around there, 15, 20 years.
Oh,
And
bless.
He is the best technician that I ever worked with. I ran a shop for about 10 years, 10 of my years at Christian Brothers. And he was the best technician that I ever worked with. And that kind of comes from a couple of different places. One, just from a technical standpoint, right? Like he's just freaking smart. But then what he's got that's different that most other techs don't is he is humble. Nothing is beneath him. He will learn. If he doesn't know how to do something, he's going to figure it out, right? And he's kind and patient and all of these things. And so I was just, I say I don't even know if I'd start this company if Arnold wasn't there, because you can't do it unless you know for a fact that all those trucks are going out and they've been put together right. And if I didn't have that boy that I knew so well, that I knew his skill level so well, it'd be really hard to start this company and not be losing sleep every night that a year from now everybody's going to come back and want a bunch of their money back. So yeah, so that's Arnold. We love him. He's awesome. And then Jeremy has been with VR, I think, for probably about 6 years now. Kind of through a few of the different phases. And Jeremy's just a good dude. We love Jeremy. And he basically runs our service. And, we've got 150 parts that go on all these trucks. And so he works really hard at just kind of getting everything built, making sure we're getting the most fair prices with the best brands and all that kind of stuff. So, and then we've got a technician named Zach, and Zach's been with us for a long time as well. And again, just a good dude, funny, kind of quirky, but in a funny way. And yeah, we've got a good team. I like everybody. Everybody's good at their job. Everybody's fun to work with. You're not worrying about coming up behind them and checking their work and all that kind of jazz. So yeah, I'm super, super happy with the team that we've got.
On the product, to me, it sells itself. I love a product that sells itself. I mean, your value propositions are, this is going to save you money for the right vehicle. It's got less of an environmental impact than most other means out there. And now, especially when you look at the current state of the automotive market, both new and used vehicles, the costs are crazy. I was in the market just for, a little sedan a year ago, and I couldn't find anything less than $25,000 that was worth what I imagine the value of that dollar for dollar vehicle is.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure that's got to be a conversation with your prospective customers or your existing customers, right?
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
Now, do you know? I'm curious for the financial bean counters listening to this. Does remanufacturing your vehicle as opposed to going and buying a new one affect depreciation on the books? Are there other kinds of
Oh, great question. Yeah, so I think one of the kind of neat little, it's almost like a Easter egg, I think they call them. But if you do this, you can actually redepreciate the value of the vehicle. So what we do is we take, whenever the vehicle comes in, we'll take Blue Book value, and then we add that to the cost of repairs. So for example, we just did it with a customer. Their repairs were about 35 grand. Their truck was worth about 4 when it came in. So we sent them a certificate kind of verifying the new value of the vehicle at 30 grand, and they're 29 grand. And then they can go in and redepreciate it from there.
Interesting. And also, you have financing options.
Yes, we do. We got plenty of them.
Yeah, perfect. Well, I love the model of the company. And currently you're located just north of Austin.
Yes, sir.
Where the shop is, but that's not stopping you from doing business all over the United States, if I understand correctly.
Yeah, I mean, we've done Northeast, like we've done New York and Maine, Colorado, Washington, Florida, Georgia, Tennessee. So we're kind of all over the place. It's definitely a better value if you're more local. just because transportation costs can, be prohibitive. But like I said, we've got repeat customers in Florida, Colorado, New York. So some vehicles it just still makes sense with because we're saving them so much money.
Do you see yourself scaling this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What do you think? What does that look like?
Man, this is actually where it could get kind of cool. I'm gonna get a little out there, but so the simple answer is franchising. But what I get more excited about is how this could kind of play into urban development. So when I started this thing, I was also like running a charitable foundation and trying to create an urban development plan. And when I ran into this company, I realized that its structure could be very good for that, right? So one thing that I would love to do is, so when we do another location, it's because we're going to have more business, right? It's not like you plop this thing down, you got to go out and advertise to customers. So as a corporate office, I see us handling more so the sales. And then if you think about it, what you could do is you could partner with a nonprofit in an area that's having a hard time. Because at the end of the day, what's going to help people in those situations is property appreciation. That's what we need at the end of the day. Okay. And so my deal, what I would love to do is go in and you buy, rent a building, whatever you want to do, kind of in, a neighborhood that needs it. And then you get a franchisee to own a small percentage and then kind of have sweat equity getting into it. And then you hire people from the local area, right? And so they're doing all this work, putting out these trucks, making money. But while they're doing the trucks, we could also be teaching kids from the neighborhood how to fix these trucks as well. So training them, growing our own labor force. And then the other thing is that you can do is once we get busy enough, you can start to do other businesses, right? So if we're doing reman, we might say, hey, urban development, this could be really cool. You guys start building alternators, right? Let's let you over here, you've done this awesome stuff with a nonprofit, you've succeeded, blah, 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 blah. We're going to give you this little alternator franchise, right? And we're going to be buying, or, it's going to be ours at first. And we're going to kind of set this thing up. And then eventually you prove yourself, right? It's your alternator franchise. And we'll just keep buying them from you, right? And so, rising tide floats all boats. And so that's really my dream of what I'd love to do, at least a lot of those, because you can just do a lot from there, man. You can just do so much. And, this thing really gets going, then AC compressor business, right? Brake caliper business, power steering pump. You can cut it up any kind of ways you want, or it's a bunch of parts, or there's a lot of options. There's a lot of really cool ways that you could do this.
In particular with how skill sets and the educational environment is these days for the youth.
Mm-hmm.
There's a void in the market in terms of the supply of people who are able, capable, and willing to do this sort of work. And some have offered out there that it's because we've gotten rid of shop class, and auto shop no longer exists in most high schools across the United States. You don't have wood shop, you don't have any of the shops, and that. So now what we have is a technical skills gap. So it's refreshing to hear that as a business owner, you want to start this kind of reciprocal relationship back to the community, where you can give in terms of education and build their skill sets to help them create their own opportunities out there in the market.
Yeah, and the other thing that I didn't even mention that we get to do, and we've actually already been doing this. So we've got a nonprofit called the Hub Garage, and we fixed about 700 cars for single moms. And we basically do like a little mini Reman. The average retail ticket's about $3,500. And we go in and we just try and make sure they're not going to have to do anything for the next 2 years, right? We can't predict the future, but we do our best. And so then the other thing off of that is we'd like to continue doing that out of our shop some, right? We got to be profitable. But what you can do is these more entry-level technicians that are training kind of on the bottom floor, right? Single moms cars are great for them to learn on because we're not in as much of a hurry. It's teaching, somebody's coming in behind, right? You're not getting on these commercial trucks that people are paying money for and don't want somebody learning on. So that's just one more thing. Like you can, like I said, you can just keep layering into this deal.
Wow. How did you get involved in Hub Garage?
I started it.
Okay.
Yeah, so when I was running the Christian Brothers Foundation, it's somebody just gave me some really good advice. They say, don't try and start a fire, just see where embers are already burning and blow life into them. And so, I'm supposed to be doing the foundation for Christian Brothers, and I didn't just want to write checks to nonprofits and sit there on my ass, so it just kind of, it just seemed to make a lot of sense. It's like, well, we've got 250 locations and franchisees wanting to fix cars for single moms that come in all the time. And so we just kind of put a structure to it and made it easy for them. And it was kind of a no-brainer.
Are you currently seeking new investors? I know you've got a pretty good phone call lined up, or you had a pretty good phone call.
Vehicle Reman? Maybe. I don't know. The guys that I have talked to and I'm going to talk to are pretty good friends of mine. And so I'm hoping that's gonna close the door for a little bit. Just kind of hang out with them and get the thing going. So, but we're excited to grow this year. This year is going to be great for us. It's going to be great for us. We're poised to do very well.
We've built a hell of a foundation, and it's always bumpy getting there, but now it seems to be rock solid. And
bumpy, man. I've been getting thrown down hills.
Tossed down the cliff of opportunity.
Yep.
Yeah. But here you are.
Here I am.
Yeah. And it's about to take off.
Yes, sir.
I'm fully confident in that. How can people find you and the service?
Yeah, so our website is vehiclereman.com. If you go to the website, like as soon as it opens, there's a pretty cool video there that just kind of shows what we do. And then if you're interested at all, you can go to there's a contact us button, and you can just put your mileage and a VIN in there. And what that'll do is it'll allow us to get cost savings. So that way we can at least call back, hey, Mr. Customer, you're going to save $50,000. Does this sound okay to you? You're going to save $5,000. This may not be that great of an idea. But then they know, right? They've got a hard number in their hand and they can make a good decision. So that's really the only thing where we push for is, man, just let us give you a savings number. And then if you look at it and say, no, thanks, that's fine by us. We just want you to know what it is that we're offering.
And that's the thing. There are a lot of companies out there that say, we could save you thousands, or we can save you asterisk. Yours is a no shit reality. This is something you can put your hands on. You can go online or go down to your local auto dealer and see what it's going to cost. Then you can talk to Vehicle Reman and get a better understanding of what it can actually cost. So this is for those out there who may be fleet managers, who may be the buyers in a commercial organization that has fleet vehicles. This is actually something that saves an organization money. It's got a financing vehicle alongside it. It's got the Easter eggs, so to say, with the
everybody loves a depreciation Easter egg.
Yeah, love that depreciation Easter egg. So I encourage listeners out there that if you live in this space, at least look it up, at least get on the Vehicle Reman website, check out what prospectively you might be able to save on quote unquote new fleet vehicles. It's been a pleasure to have you on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. And talk to you later.
Okay, sounds good. I'll keep you updated.